But hey, then it went finally. All right. So how are you?
I am just dandy. I forgot it was Saturday already, and I was like, no days off, 9 days of consciousness. We're steamrolling through day
Right. But this
5.
is a good one. This is important. This is why we all do life and forget it.
Yes, it is the
You know, the
experience.
reason, yes, the whole point of life. And, I was just thinking too, as I was waiting to go on, was I really thank you for doing this, because this approach is just so different. I'm realizing that just getting the idea of we're so trained that we have to go and do something. We're to make something happen. We're to accomplish something. And rather than to experience a journey that has a sequence, that has an order. Everything in the universe has an order. I don't understand why we never even thought to think that the progression of our life and our experiences, the very nature of life, would have an order.
Yes.
You know?
Well, I think there's probably some orchestrated chaos that we're supposed to be influenced by. And it's really interesting you say that, because one of the things I Google searched last night, what are the components of an experience? And what's so funny about that, and I can speak to this from being in business school, is we're always thinking about providing an experience for someone else. So, I just kind of laughed.
Oh, I would love to hear what are the components.
Well, what's interesting is this is from KPMG, which is a big radio networking outlet. And they talk about, creating an omni-channel experience, so having lots of different ways that someone can get to you.
Okay.
And then their second is constructing a quality experience. And they even, their third is offering a personalized experience. And they even say here, Netflix is a great example. They've implemented algorithms that study people and recommend suitable content for them. So, and it says, yeah, we want to discover the customer's characteristics. What are their interests? What needs must be met? How would it likely satisfy them? And I think, from being in business school and having, a couple degrees in that, and even going back my first degree in advertising or in graphic design, I've never applied these things to myself. Like, what are my interests? What are my needs to meet? What are, we're just always so focused on the other. So I think I agree that it's great that we're doing this.
Yes. Well, what I looked up is something I remembered, and I think it's important to even read these, because this is how much we forget what life is about. Okay.
Yes.
The 5 regrets of dying patients, recorded by a nurse by the name of Bonnie Ware, are: I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected to me. That was the number 1 regret. Number 2, I wish I hadn't worked so hard. Number 3, I wish I had the courage to express my feelings. These are the top 5 regrets of dying people. It's too late then.
Yep.
All right. I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends is number 4. And 5 was, I wish I had let myself be happier.
Yes.
I even still get goosebumps even reading that.
Me too. That's like really touching me. And I hear that expression all the time, we're human beings, not human doings. And we're always so focused on what needs to get done, or regretting the past. We're always stuck in past or future. And it really is. I love that quote in the from Waking Life. The idea is to always be departing and arriving at the same time. And it's such a paradox to get a handle of that and be present.
Yes. Because what is life but the experience? You can't take anything with you. All you can take is hopefully your integrated living, which is what an experience is. That's what you take with you, what you've learned from the experience. And we don't even think that here we are. We have the ability. We're given, especially in our privileged states of most Western countries, we're given all the ingredients we need to craft our experiences. But instead, what we do is we wind up with the same experience over and over again and go, why does this keep happening to me? Why does this keep
Yep. I think of too, in our coaching that we did, we talked about 4 really kind of setting that structure, or like giving that time for the structure to sort of fill in. And then you always said, you're making this picture frame, but eventually you're going to step into the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so interesting if we're spending so much time crafting experiences for other people, then, you know, where are we actually in that? And how do we actually recognize that that experience is happening?
But right, even happening to us. Yeah, because
Yes.
especially when you work for somebody else, and just like what you just read about with the newspapers and all that. Yes.
Yeah.
And we're not even thinking, oh, this is all life is experiences.
Yeah.
We have all these people out there crafting experiences for us, and we're crafting experiences for somebody else. And then people get to their deathbed and go, what happened to my life?
Yeah. And, you know, I think too, you know, for myself, I think we're always judging these experiences that we're in too. You know, we're spending so much time. And I remember like when I was really going through this transition at one point, that expression, you know, only God can judge me really became important to me. I thought, you know, I've lived a good life. I've always tried to do the right thing, blah, blah, blah. And it gets to a point where I have to let go of just judging how I am, when I am, who I am, what I am, and just be it for a little bit. And even on the hero's journey, you know, this initiation phase that we're kind of in right now, it is learning to be in the experience.
And you have to let go. The perfect word you said. You have to let go to have the experience. And instead, we'll keep trying to control and hold on to, and then lo and behold, the experience goes by, we don't have it, and then it gets repeated. And then we're going, why does this keep happening to me? Instead of digesting the experience, which requires being present, feeling, allowing the...
I wanted to say that too. It's the definition for experience. It's funny because as a noun, it's the process of personally observing, encountering, or undergoing. And as a verb, it says to meet with, undergo, or feel. So it's so interesting that this is just right in the dictionary. It's right in our face all the time. Experience is to feel. It's to undergo feeling.
Yeah, but what we think in that standpoint is, oh, I have to experience being sad. You know, but I didn't say that in a way where you get what I'm actually saying is we get caught in feeling that that the experience is being sad rather than realizing that sad might be the emotion of the experience.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, like it's all kind of just like I always think, you know, I try to become more observant when I'm in things that are uncomfortable because I just kind of say, okay, this is data for me to do better next time or to course correct or whatever. But if you take all of it too personally, even though it is a personal experience, but like, you know, I think before when I was like in that human judging, it was just all contained in staying here instead of letting it go back up to that connection or meditating on it or just, you know, feeling it, truly feeling it, you know, that's just a different, it's like uploading to the God server.
Right. But see, even I'm going to breach something that's even very difficult. Say the experience of grieving, the sadness that one has to go through, you know, the emotion of sadness that comes with grieving. And not wanting to experience the grieving is what I want to say. Instead, that's a wonderful opportunity to, you know, when someone dear to you passes, to experience that sadness and experience grieving and experience what that feels to be lost, to be in that void, you know, instead of blocking the experience. You know, and that's what happens a lot of times is we hold on instead of experiencing that sadness. You know, someone might try to jump into the sadness and they're acting out the sadness rather than experiencing it. Is that too fine line?
No, I know what you mean because when you were saying that, I thought of like the first time I saw like Awake in New Orleans, where they have like the big band and they're like, and they're it's really death is a celebration of life, but so many of us just see it as this like hard end, and we don't take the best parts of what was. I mean, and a lot of us hang on to, oh my gosh, I see it. This is something kind of, you know, we both lost somebody this year that was pretty close to us. And you watch these ripple effects of people that have these resentments and these unsaid things. And you started this off with, you know, the 5 things people regret the most. And it's just such an interesting I think there is like this, you know, experience. It has a beginning and ending, and then it comes back to, you know, but to just appreciate that whole cycle.
Well, also to appreciate, we're back to that's what life is about, you know, so it's the death and the birth, you know, and to have the experience. So it's not only the emotions, it's everything that goes along with it. Like you said, with the death, when it was somebody close, you have all of those moments that you know, that were great, that you can have gratitude for, the, you know, the things that brought you joy, as well as, you know, you just go through the experiences of it rather than being just stuck in the emotion of it.
Yeah.
Because the emotion is just energy in motion that's bringing that experience to you. Yes, you have to feel that emotion, but it's as a part of the experience. And as you do that and you surrender to it, it's like the energy gets the opportunity to just expand rather than contract you. You know, when you're not experiencing something, that's when you get contracted. You know, as a medical person, as a nurse, I could tell what somebody's disease was almost from their sense of contraction, how they were holding on to things rather than allowing, you know, and so just even with the 5, it's just to really, just to recap again, it's like we started with the idea to get to this place. And then we have these ideas, you know, hopefully, you know, most of them, unfortunately, we didn't choose. So when we get to this place, we're like, why am I here? You know, why is this happening to me?
Well, and just even to expand on that, you know, like we're in 2020 now. In 2018, that's when, like, I'll just call it like psychic stuff started happening to me again. And I mean, and I went through, I was like, oh, shoot, like this is happening again. And this was gone for a while. Like, what's going on? And what was so interesting, I mean, there's so many like new age people and spiritual people that are going to talk about synchronicities and deja vu and all these things. But I really noticed, like, the more I meditated and the more I allowed myself to be connected to that. And I mean, you know, psychic for me is I just get ideas, or I hear things from relatives that have passed on. Like it happens often enough. And it's sort of like, that's when, like, I would start noticing the synchronicities, or like 111, or I'm seeing this, I'm seeing that. At first it was like, oh my God, this is so magical. And now when it happens, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm on track. All right, cool. Thanks for the confirmation. All right, cool. But I actually feel like I'm so much more a part of my experience, as opposed to being like a victim of it, or at the mercy of it.
Yes. Oh, a part of. And as you're a part of your experience, you're also a part of life. Because it's just like, you know, here we go to sleep and we wake up and we're like, where are we? What is this? You know, oh no, I've got to do life again. Oh, what does that mean? Oh, I got to go someplace I don't want to be, or, you know, the top regret. You know, I wish I had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life of others. The top regret of people dying.
Yeah.
And I can tell you that, as being a nurse, that was the saddest thing for me. It was just seeing the elderly people there that, you know, getting to that place in their life. I mean, it was, I'd say, okay, I'm going to be conservative, over 80%.
Yeah. Well, and I think now, you know, as we're going through what we're going through, you know, I think there's not enough of a bridge between the older generation and the younger generations. And even with technology, you know, we want to push all of these things so quickly. And we really, I don't think we listen to our elders enough on, you know, why we're even doing these things, you know, the purpose of these things.
You know, they would say, no, you need to live your life. You need to, you know, but that was what I love about the numbers and words, is I really appreciated it more when I realized that the word life is a number 5. It's the same as experience. Wow. That's what life is. It truly is about experience.
Yeah. And I mean, taking that ownership of like, this is my experience, you know, this is God's experience through me, and, you know, the field of consciousness experience through Zenith, or, you know, however you want to put it. And now it's like, I look at people, and I'm sure when people meet me, it's almost sort of this like figuring out, like, how much of your experience did you craft, and how much did I craft, and like what level are we really on with each other right now? But I don't know where I was going with that, but yeah.
Oh yeah, I had something before that I thought of that I thought was important. So I'm going back to that cosmic consciousness again, because this is something that came to me today. It's so wild, and I guess you would call it irony. I'm not sure if it's paradox, but it's so wild. Here we are in a situation where we have more information than we've ever had, and yet we have more misinformed people than we've ever had.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
Well, actually, funny, can I jump in or were you going to keep going? Okay. It's funny you mentioned that because another note I made for today was the differentiating between information, knowledge, and wisdom. And just to recap, I know you've gone over this before, but information is just data blocks. They mean nothing. It's kind of like letters. And then knowledge is the data arranged for utility. So that's like making a sentence. And then wisdom is that utility applied to experience. So, and I think so many of us, myself included, we just get stuck at knowledge. We want to learn the information and put it together for utility. But then we don't, like you said, that number one regret, we don't have the courage to actually take that knowledge and apply it to an experience because we get stuck there, you know, or we're having someone else's experience, so we're taking that knowledge and then having a different experience and giving that wisdom away to someone else or something else.
And therein lies another thing is like we think we have to find meaning when we're supposed to craft meaning.
Yeah.
And that's the wisdom from our experiences. That's how we gain meaning. That's how life gains meaning.
Yeah.
If we don't take the time to craft our experiences, then life has no meaning to us personally.
This is a little like mind bending right now, but I saw this video one time where somebody was talking. They were like, is the moon even real? And this whole video went on to say, you know, we've all agreed to this over time. So is everything we know really just these, you know, these ideas that have gained energy and gotten such density that, you know, we're now like, we've just been agreeing to this for so long. I mean, like ancient times, not just like in the last 60 years or anything, but I mean, it's true. Like consciousness itself just keeps expanding on itself and having more experiences. So. Right.
And we have to integrate that to have the meaning. You know, we think we can skip that. But when you don't, then your life or my life won't have meaning. And we keep, you know, that's why you keep going. I think everybody goes through this. I don't know, Sam, someone can correct me, but you go back to what's the purpose? You get in that place like, well, what's the purpose of life? Why am I even doing this? Why did I get up to that? Why am I working hard? You know?
And go ahead.
No.
Well, and so many of us, I mean, you brought up the word surrender before. I mean, every time I've truly surrendered, it was the point when the fight was over, the fight of trying to make this thing mean something. And it was like, I don't mean anything. And I was like, but you have to. It's like, I still don't. You know, and then you're like, all right, you know what, I surrender.
Right, but then the difference of being like an artist with your life and you're crafting the meaning. You know, and then you can get excited about your creation. You don't need somebody else out there to validate the meaning for you.
Yeah. And I think I've just become more comfortable with just surrendering more often, you know. You can fight as long as you want, but if you just get in the flow of things and just surrender when you have to surrender. And I think that's building intuition, you know, certainly.
Right.
And I have less qualms about leaving things that aren't working now. I'm like, okay, that's got to go. Bye.
But think about it. How can you have an experience without surrendering?
Yeah. And how can anything be born without death, you know, or how can anything die without being born?
But I think, that's the hardest thing because we think that we can control things because that's the whole thing. We're working so hard to make something happen rather than allow it to happen.
Yeah. And just on like a civilization level, like it's just, and everything from business, which business makes our whole world go round right now. I think that we have an opportunity to redefine this, but why do every civilization just eventually gets to this point of control? Just everything has to be controlled. And, I don't have an answer for that, but do we really not trust each other enough?
Right. Well, I was going to go there too with agreements, but I was going, nope, that's number 7. So.
Oh yeah, we can, sure. So what's probably some of your best advice for someone to just stay in the experience, or when you get to this experience point?
Yeah, and that is the biggest thing as far as like even working with people is so much, no matter what I've done, whether it's sound or anything, is to help people digest their experiences. You know, one thing that really taught me the value of the importance of this so much is when I was doing, and I still do, it's not my prime thing, I do it in coaching, but with people who've had trauma, I do it, but I was just a prime way I was working with people was using sound to find undigested experiences. I mean, life is just so amazing. We have a aura field around us, like, you know, and it's actually like you can think of a tree with rings. Mm-hmm. And when you strike a tuning fork in someone's field, if there's undigested information, it will change the sound of the tuning fork.
Wow.
And intuitively, I'd ask the person the age, and they were like, oh, that's when my dog died, or that's, you know, and so there are some, you know, and just by that person just storytelling about the dog dying gives them opportunity to digest that experience.
Yeah.
So that's how the emotional digest technique came about. Was from the realization of how many experiences, how we just go through life not digesting experiences.
Yeah. And I think of a lot of like coaching or therapy or anything people really need. It's because we've stuffed all these things down and we just need to be seen or heard or get the story out. Right. Because when we suppress this expression, it's going to express itself like inside our body, you know?
Yes. Yes.
It's got to be expressed somehow.
Somewhere. Right. And that's all sick. That's all disease is. Dis-ease.
Dis-ease. Yeah.
You know, that's what sick is. Just, you know, sick comes at the number 6 from the 5, not digesting or processing the experience. And when you think about it, is, you know, these experiences is based on information and energy. So when you digest an experience, it's almost like when someone dies, that energy passes and that information decomposes or goes back into the potential pool or wherever. It goes in the DNA memory. But, you know, so that's the whole thing of digesting an experience. And when you digest the experience, then you get the wisdom you get the understanding from the information. But once that energy is still bound to the experience with the emotion, and it's just stuck there, and we're just like, no. Okay, yeah, that happened, and, you know, or we're just stuck in the emotion and won't even let ourselves open up to, well, what was that experience that created that emotion?
Yeah.
You know, and just, and the simple thing is all it takes is our attention.
Yeah.
That's all. Just to give it our attention.
I mean, you know, as much coaching as we've done together in the past month, I have really let myself write things in my journal that I've known secretly I wanted to say, but I just wouldn't allow myself to go there. And I'm shocked at how quickly things will clear out, or how quickly the situation will take care of itself. It's like, whoa, all I had to do was admit this. Yes, or, you know, just digest it, like you said, you know, take it on.
Give it our attention. And we don't even realize, we're like, nope, not looking at that. Nope. Don't want to see that. Nope.
Yeah, and that's all out of control. Just trying to control the experience rather than allow it.
But a lot of it too is miseducation, because it's fear. We have fear when we don't know what's going to happen. We don't want to look because we think, what if I look at this? What is that going to mean?
Yeah.
And we create all of these meanings. If I look at this, then this and this and this and this will happen. We realize how creative we are. We don't realize. We forget how creative we are. And so when you do that, then the mind goes, oh, yeah, okay. Well, then let me shut this door so you never have to look at this again.
Yeah. And, you know, what's funny, too, is after my little awakening change or whatever, like anytime I would have like a pain or a disease or a sickness or something, I would type into Google spiritual reason for, and I know it sounds silly and ridiculous.
No, it's not.
But at the same time, I almost realized like all these actions I'm taking are causing this disease because there was something in the beginning that prompted me to numb it, ignore it, act negatively on it or whatever. And it's like, if you can just go back to the source, you know, and so many people want to treat the symptoms, but they never want to go to the root of it, you know?
Right. Louise Hay did this back in the 80s. And there's this wonderful book now, I can't remember the name, but it's on diagnostic. Well, I'll bring it tomorrow since I've said it. But Louise Hay started this back in the 80s, and she has a book called You Can Heal Your Life. And she, at the time, she just had a little pamphlet of the emotional causes of illnesses. And there weren't as many diagnoses as there are now. And, there weren't. And I tell you, that book was accurate. I mean, and that's why I actually specialize in the emotional aspect of illnesses. Because I could walk in a hospital room and I could tell a cancer patient from a heart patient, from a kidney patient, there were characteristics that were just there. You can see.
And that's a lot. I mean, my podcast partner, Rachel, she's an acupuncturist. So, I mean, a lot of that is like troubles in the organs and what those really mean. And then I have another friend that's in like Ayurvedic, and I'm just amazed at how Western medical, it's really about the consumer culture. So, I mean, there's no interest in really treating people's like source and root causes. There's no money in us being healthy. Right. Yeah. I mean, I think we call these things new age, but they're the most ancient stuff that's been passed on.
Back in the early 1900s, all of this existed until, allopathic medicine got that stamp of approval with the drug companies as their partner. So,
and I think it's so, I mean, you talk about just creation and that, like, what a time to be alive that we have the internet and we have these things. And I think I mentioned this before, but just so many swaths of women and other marginalized groups that have done the thing. They got the degrees, they were in the medical field, and now they're like, I'm out. Like, I got to get this other information out to people because I've observed enough, I've experienced enough, and this is not sustainable. This is not right.
No, that's not. I had to get out back in 1980. It was just, whoa. There has to be, and that was when it was even harder to get this new information. There wasn't internet. There wasn't all of this. That was, but
Right.
So I've got 40 years to say, hey, where it starts is within. It starts with your emotions. It starts with your thinking, I've gotten
So I think we addressed two really main issues for experience. There's one, coming out of fear and not being able to allow yourself to have the experience, and then coming out of like greed and control and having the experience but wanting to not process it because it's too difficult or whatever. So and if we really can start to come from that place of love and allowance and appreciation of just the process.
Here's another thing that people, that you said that's so interesting from the standpoint of greed is prolong it. A lot of times when something is good, we want to hold on to it so bad. People spend a lot of time trying to prolong happiness rather than continually recreating happiness by creating and crafting other experiences or building on that experience. Because so much of life is about refinement. We keep going through the same cycles over and over again to refine, to work to our greatness, because our greatness is our love.
Yeah. And I think even, for a lot of us, we can look back on our lives and think, this first half was really hard. It was like all the, because the experience was so, it's like having that dusty piece of coal, it isn't a diamond yet. That's going to take some time. But like once you kind of get to that point where you're like, all right, I know what this process is about. Like the refinement comes a lot easier to you.
Right. Yes. Especially when you realize what the process is. That's a good point, because, especially with happiness, I tell you, it's just as much people do not process their experiences happiness as they do unhappiness.
Yeah. And when you're not letting that go, it just keeps coloring everything new.
Everything, yes, because you're trying to recreate a past experience.
Yeah.
You're trying to hold on to a past experience rather than realize you could create a new experience that's probably even better.
Yeah. This is, sometimes I'm like, this is really easy for you, Jackie, because, you're not married and you don't have like this family and like things around you. I totally understand why people feel stuck. But and I will tell you too, just in my own, it's like the more I changed myself, the more other people around me, it just started to flow better, but it took me doing it first,
Yes.
Like they say, if you want to change the world, start with yourself.
Yes, because, and we're actually hurting other people because they can't change.
Yeah.
If you and when you go first, and that gives the other person an opportunity to go, whoa, wait a second. Okay, I'm coming too.
Yeah. It has already been half an hour.
I know. We're just going to,
But this was great. I really
Yeah.
enjoyed this today.
Yeah, no, it really was. So tomorrow, what we're going to be doing with the 6 is we're going to be talking about your lovely standing wave.
Yeah,
But,
6, everyone's favorite number.
Oh, yeah, right. Especially now, right? And even the whole 666. I mean, what just what that means, and and at 6 is where we get to where we believe, but it's really should be about awareness. So so it's awareness.
Yeah.
Having a belief and something we are holding on to. We had the belief at 3, and now we believe what the belief is at 6.
Yeah.
Because
So
we've had this experience, and but not thinking that why we're even having the experience. Well, we get the knowledge of the 6, and so anyway, that's what the 6 is going to be about.
Cool. All right. Well, happy Saturday, everyone, and we will see you tomorrow. Oh, we're doing 6 on a Sunday too, girl.
Oh, whoa. Great. All right. Well, thanks again. This was wonderful as usual.
Okay. I'll see you later.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.